G'day team and welcome back. We've got our fancy new logo rolling. I reckon if we hit 1,000 subscribers, we'll look at some merch. I think first up, Budgie Smugglers with the logo on the bum. So today we're getting into the first of the series of deeper dives into kits I've already built, because I'm a slow builder. I'll think of a catchier title for the series. Today we're cracking into the M2A3 Bradley. So first, let's talk about Baghdad. Contemporary Baghdad is a vibrant, historic city on the grow. And just as Dubai is a haven for Instagram sheilas and Western influencers trying to make it big, if the internet's to be believed, Baghdad's full of travel bloggers and foodies. But let's go back 20 years. In 2005, 2006, things were a bit different. So it's just over 2 years since George W. Bush made his mission accomplished speech on the deck of the Abraham Lincoln. In Baghdad, during 2005-2006, the Major Combat Operations Complete banner from 2003 was looking optimistic, like declaring victory halfway through assembling a bit of IKEA furniture. Baghdad had become the main event. Coalition forces were trying to hold things together long enough for a functioning Iraqi government to stand up, while insurgents and militias were doing their absolute best to prove that that was a terrible plan. The responsibility for Baghdad fell to the multinational division Baghdad, as well as including British, Czech, Georgians, and a few Australians. MNDB was made up of a rotating cast of US units, including the 3rd ID, 1st Cav, 4 ID, 101st Airborne, and the 256th Infantry Brigade Combat Team. Their day-to-day life was patrols, raids, route clearances, and trying to figure out which local group hated them the least that morning. If you were kicking around Baghdad at this time, you would have noticed a few things. The graveyards of giant Saddam heads, e-walls as far as the eye could see, rippets, but more on this later. If you were mounted, you probably ran some TTPs at the crossed swords, and undoubtedly, you saw a couple of videos of this star of the laptop screen. And you would have also have seen Bradleys. Lots of Bradleys. Now, before we get too into the weeds about the Bradley, let's listen to her sing the song of her people, doing suppressive at 200 rounds a minute. And that was the dulcet tones of the M2A3 Bushmaster 25mm chain gun. During the OIF-3, OIF-4 period, 2005-2006, MNDB facing a lot of enemies. Sunni groups such as Al-Qaeda in Iraq, who relied on IEDs, lots of IEDs, vehicle-borne IEDs, suicide-borne IEDs, bicycle-borne IEDs, donkey-borne IEDs, and the diabolical Timmy bomb. All these other groups, such as the Mahdi Army, insurgent group under the leadership of epic arse clown Muqtada al-Sadr. Groups turned areas like Sada City, Adamir, and Dora into, well, literal war zones. By the end of OIF-4, Baghdad was deeply divided along sectarian lines. Violence had peaked, and it was obvious the current approach wasn't cutting it. This set the stage for the Iraq War troop surge under David Petraeus, which aimed to reset the situation with more troops and a revised counterinsurgency strategy. There was a coalition base in the Green Zone called FOB Union 3. So Union 3 was based around the old Ba'athist Party headquarters, an epic building with a JDAM hole down the centre. In FOB Union 3 was a troop from the 3rd ACR. This vehicle, the build we're going with soon, is based on vehicles deployed by 3 ACR. Rightio, before we crack on with the build, as a historical note, there were no full Busk 3 configured Bradleys in Baghdad in 05-06, despite what the kit painting guide suggests. However, vehicles did begin to receive elements later associated with Busk, including the more robust ERA, the improved Commander's Protection System, and the Commander's Independent Thermal. Kit is the Meng M2A3 Bradley, Busk 3, with the ET Models PE with some metal tracks and metal barrel thrown in for good measure. It has a very nice full interior, built out of the box and then painted initially with SMS seafoam green, tinted with a little bit of dark green, and then weathered mainly with oils and a little bit of pigments. So for operating at FFOBs, the stowage is a bit different to the vehicles you see from the March up in 2003. They're not laden down with everything, including the kitchen sink. They would only carry what they needed for that job. So day packs, ammunition, food, water, first aid gear, and a esky full of Rippets and Gatorade. The stowage is from various manufacturers, including Tamir, Black Dog, and Legend, and the crew's little morale posters on the turret basket from Daiwa. With the pinups, I just cut them off the sheet, scrunch them up a bit, flatten them back out, just to make them look a bit more worn and weathered. I didn't put a huge amount of effort into inside the turret because honestly you can see stuff all of it when she's closed up. Just some Edward photo etched 762 belts for the coax ready round bin. So the kit does have a molded on anti-slip texture. It's just a little bit too subtle that you can't really see it. So I use the AK product just to make it stand out a bit more. Painting was straightforward, all done with SMS lacquers. Black primer, straight into the base coat, and then a couple of coats of progressively lighter highlights. To dirty her up, I used a first coat of heavily diluted earth tone acrylics sprayed on the lower surfaces, and then built from that with oils and a little bit of pigments. Some of the pigments held in place with VMS pigment fixer. I always like to pose my models with a figure just to give it a bit of scale, so everyone knows how big an average person is. Tried a couple different layouts, a couple different sets of figures. This was a period of the changeover between the 3-tone BDU and ACU uniforms. Figures are definitely not my strong point. I'll go through my process in a later video. Oh, what's in old mate's hand? It's a Rippet. Around 2004, during the global war on terror, the manufacturer of Rippet Made deals to flood bases with the stuff. It showed up in PXs, DFACs. It was there by the pallet load. It was also stupid cheap. Rip It was always a budget tier drink. Around $1 a can. It did the job. It's packed with caffeine and other stimulants to keep you awake, alert, and slightly vibrating. And when you're running on 3 hours sleep and pure resentment, that's good to go. Team, hope you've enjoyed this one. A bit of rambling, incoherent history with a model attached. Next video up will be the first part of my 135 Staghound build. As always, cue the dramatic music.